What's up, guys? Back for unsolicited inspiration. I know it's been a little bit, but we're back. And today I want to answer a question that one of my family friends who also follows me on Instagram reached out. I did a Q&A and said, hey, can you tell me, anyone have any questions for me? He asked me if I can do a video on a specific topic, but I felt like it would be better off as a podcast so that I could answer it properly and thoroughly. Now, this is a guy who's younger than me. He grew up observant in Los Angeles, and I don't know what his status is right now, but his question was, can you please talk about Shabbat or Shabbos, and please explain how it is that you can run all of the different businesses that you run. I currently am involved in 3 different businesses, and they're all in growth mode, so it's pretty labor intensive, and also do all of the things you do and have a family and have 5 kids and do all your hobbies and do all your media stuff and whatever else you do while also not working on Shabbos. He's like, I feel like Shabbos is the best time in order to be able to sort of catch up or, take a step ahead of the competition and really build my business that way. And it was pretty obvious to me, but let me share and let me give some background. So I'm not going to name who you guys are that asked me. You already know, but hopefully this helps answer your question. Okay, so obviously there's the whole order of creation, Bereshit. Hashem creates the world, 6 days, rest on the 7th, blah, blah, blah. That's really nice. We're supposed to rest because he rests. Then there's all the malachos of Shabbos, the 39 malachos, the types of work that you can't do because, those are things that were done in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, and then the Beis Mikdash, things you can't do on Shabbos. Fine. That just defines the type of work and what you can't do or, whatever, those details. But let's get to the root of his question, which wasn't what is Shabbos, how do you keep Shabbos? It was, how are you able to not work on Shabbos when you want to get ahead, when you want to build, when you want to succeed? Now, when the Jews left Mitzrayim, they left Egypt, which is relevant to today, because this is the parsha where Moshe gets sent down to redeem the Jews, or at least start the process. And let's say they leave Mitzrayim, and a month after they leave Mitzrayim, the Jews go into the desert, and a month later, the man or the manna, the food from heaven, from Shemayim, starts to fall. Hashem says, guys, you have nothing to eat. I took you into the desert. You don't have any Torah yet. You don't know about kashrut. You don't know about anything, but you need food. So what did he say? He said, look, I'm going to give you this magical food that falls from the sky, that sustains you, that at all times you'll have what to eat. Now, this food is going to fall. You're going to wake up. You're going to go to sleep. You're going to wake up. In the morning, it's going to be there. You're going to gather it. And you're going to eat. But Hashem says like this, you're going to gather it for 6 days. There will be no food on the 7th day. And if you try to gather that food on the 7th for the 7th day, it'll spoil. So on Friday, I'm going to drop twice the amount of the food or this man, and you can collect it so that you have for Shabbos, okay? So even though he doesn't even necessarily have a concept of Shabbos, there's no Torah, from a month after the Jews leave Mitzrayim, there's this concept of, okay, Hashem is going to be responsible for your parnasa. Meaning, at the time, it wasn't parnasa, it was food, it was sustenance, but the same idea, right? Today we go to work so that we can make money, so that we can eat and have clothes and pay tuition and live lives, and that's a whole nother podcast in itself. But for the purposes of survival, Hashem says very early on, okay, I redeemed you. Now that you're mine, and I'm going to make you super mine when I marry you at Har Sinai, when I give you the Torah, I have to take care of you. And so it's my responsibility to make sure that you Jewish people have what to eat, i.e. parnasa, income, livelihood, whatever you want to call it, sustenance. And the one rule for that is, hey, I'm going to give this to you in a miraculous way. You can't start collecting and worrying about your food on Shabbos. The 7th day, just trust me. If you have enough trust and Bitachon in me, I will make magic fall from the sky for you. And all you have to do is gather enough on day 6 so that you don't have to do any gathering on day 7, because that's my day and that's how I created the world and you guys are my people. And because of that, you got to follow the rules. So think, there's no meat and dairy. There's no Torah to give rules yet the people are already entrusted by Hashem to follow this concept that all of their sustenance comes from him, and he's the one who's delivering it. Now, in the desert, you could see that this stuff literally falls out of the sky. And they say the man was miraculous, not just in how it came, but in how it tasted. So if you wanted it to taste like bagels and cream cheese that day, well, guess what? Bagel and cream cheese time. You want it to taste like a steak? Whatever you want it to taste like, that's what the man tasted like. All you had to do was not gather it on Shabbos and gather on day 6, and there would be enough for Shabbos. So this concept of bitachon and understanding that your entire parnasa, your whole sustenance comes from Hashem, was a concept that lasted for 40 years in the desert from a month after we left Mitzrayim till the time that we got the Torah. And that's why on Shavuos we eat dairy because of the laws of basar and chalav, of meat and dairy, all that other stuff. We got the Torah and they didn't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. The point is that bitachon is at the root of Shabbos. So Shabbos is nice. Shabbos is nice that you get to be with your family and all that other stuff. But halting your work is all about bitachon. Now, this is not a widely known concept, even though it seems like common sense. And I will give you a story to highlight this. I recently ate at a friend's house sometime in the last year or so. And while we were there, he had a guest, a young, frum guy, plays music in the community, went to yeshiva. I just met him for the first time. Now, at the time, this was actually a little over a year ago, I was in a position that I wouldn't want to be in again, where financially I had stuff going on in my business, and I needed a huge miracle to happen. And at the time, I wasn't stressed about it at all. And I knew that Hashem would take care of it. And it was, not long after a 3-day holiday or whatever it was. I don't remember what it was. It was Sukkot. It was something where I had to shut it all off. And, thank God miracles happened and I got what I needed. Now, I was telling this story at this dinner or lunch. I don't remember which one it was. And this nice gentleman was there. And he asks me after, he goes, I don't understand. He goes, you needed all of this. You needed a miracle. Your whole livelihood, your sustenance depends on it. And then you just shut down. And this is a frum guy, okay? This isn't like a random stranger. This is a guy who literally keeps Shabbos, keeps kosher, learns all day. He doesn't need me to teach him about the rules. He says to me, how is it that you just shut off your brain on Shabbos? I said, what do you mean? That's the easiest time. I don't even think about work on Shabbos. You could give me a 9-day Chag and Shabbos combo where you just don't work and can't do anything. That's the best time for me. I'm able to just shut it down, never think about it. It's so easy at that point. And he says to me, I don't even know how that's possible. I would be sitting around, stressed out, thinking about what to do, even though I can't do anything because I won't work on Shabbos. At least the anxiety, how are you so laid back and so chill? Even just telling the story, I would be nervous. And I was so confused by the question. I'm just I don't even understand. Don't you know how it works? But this is what I said to him. I said, sir, my dear friend, who made the rules of Shabbos? And he said, Hashem. I said, who told you not to work on Shabbos? He said, Hashem. I said, who is responsible for your parnasa? Who do you pray to 3 times a day and ask him for parnasa? He's like, Hashem. I said, okay, well, if he makes the rules and he told you can't work, and he's also responsible for your parnasa, do you think that stressing on the day that he told you not to work somehow helps your cause? Does that help you? I said, guess what? If he said you could work on Shabbos, it would be my problem to figure out the solution by working on Shabbos. But because he said you can't, now it's his problem. Not only do I not have to worry about it, I actually can relax even more because, hey, these are your rules and you're the guy telling me what to do or not to do, and you're the guy giving me parnasa. So now it's even easier because, hey, I bust my brains all day to figure out how to make money. Guess what? Now that I can't, that's your problem, dude. Hashem, step up to the plate. You don't want me to work? Fine, you figure it out. Now, I didn't think anything of it. I see him at a minyan, I don't know, 6 months later. Didn't recognize him. He comes up to me and says, hello. I say hi. He says, don't you remember me? We ate together at this person's house. I was like, oh yeah, you play music, da da da. We're talking about music. I was like, yeah. He goes, I have to tell you something. He goes, you changed my whole perspective. I said, why? He said, no one had ever told me that Shabbos is the time to make it Hashem's problem to figure it out. He goes, I never thought about that. I knew you have to make an effort. I knew you have to trust Hashem. I knew he gives you parnasa. I never realized that if he's the one who tells me not to work, that I could just make it his problem. And who better to make that problem? I didn't say that. That's not English. If you're going to make it someone's problem and not yours, don't you want to make it the problem of the person who's in charge of all sustenance? The guy who gives you man from Shemaim, the guy who makes food fall out of the sky and taste like whatever you want it to taste like. So I think that the answer, my friends, my childhood friends, if you're listening to this, the answer to the secret to relaxing on Shabbos, to shutting it down completely, doesn't matter if it's a 3-day chag or a 50-day chag. Hashem, the same Hashem that you pray to for parnasa, the same Hashem that took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, the same Hashem that makes food fall out of the sky for the Jewish people in the desert where there's no place for them to get food. That's the Hashem that asked you to keep Shabbos. And so if he's the one who's in charge and he's the one who's asking you, you could say, you know what? I have better ideas. There's more time in the week, in the work week, if I work on Shabbos. Yeah, there is more time, but now you are putting matters into your own hands. Why would you do that? I was talking to someone today. If you took a 2-year-old and he wanted candy, and there was a guy down the block who had 5 candies, and the 2-year-old didn't know that there was a guy next door who was his neighbor, whose name is Willy Wonka, he would go to the guy down the block and ask him for one of his 5 candies, right? He would start looking around. If that guy didn't open his door, he'd start banging down the door. But what if you told him that Willy Wonka lives next door and takes care of candy supply for everyone who listens to him? Wouldn't you just know that why would I put my eggs in any basket that doesn't belong in Willy Wonka's? He's the source of all candy. And therefore, my friends, if you want the candy, not listening to what the source, Mr. Willy Wonka above, says about the candy and how to get it is not going to help you. The key to Shabbos, the key to succeeding in general, is to have Bitachon, to understand that Hashem is in charge of all of it. And if you want to put matters into your own hands, then Hashem will step back and say, you know what? You want it, you got it. Good luck to you. But if you say, you know what? I just want to put my hands up. Hashem, you created this world. You can do a lot more than anything I can do. Then I promise the money, the candy, the man will fall from the sky. Peace out.